only and his guests are not responsible for any losses you may accrue for having weak hands. Where the haters at? Yeah, bitches still ain't showed up. And now, right, we got Hex, flawless uptime. People thought this was a joke. Now they're mad at the chart. It's lullaby music, really, right? It's hard to believe that something like this exists. I get it, but you just gotta come to terms with reality. It just exists. Nothing we can do about it. Buy a steak and chill, baby. Shout out to Marketable Thoughts. You can't get this kind of shit for free anywhere else. It's very important to understand that. And we're handing it out. People thought this was a joke. Now they're mad at the chart. So much luck, once again, because the facts don't give a fuck. Peace. Boom. Finally. All right. I guess this thing works now. Shout out to y'all for sticking around for forever. Not sure what that was. I didn't do anything. It just didn't want to let me do my thing. But I guess now I can. So we're back at it. I guess I'll make some announcements. I guess. I'm building stuff, and all of you guys, those who've been rocking with me for mad long, I'm gonna give you guys first dibs on basically whatever it is I build. No idea what I'm gonna do first yet, but I got a lot of good ideas in the works. I'm working on multiple things at once, so I'm just not like doing one thing. So we'll see what drops first, but a lot of things in the works. A lot of things in the works. AI related stuff, market related stuff, self improvement related stuff, all types of goodies. Because one thing is for sure, you just can't ever have enough help, enough reminders, enough reference material. You just can't have enough. So I'm honestly making it for me, but I'm pretty sure everybody else will enjoy it too. So why not? Anyways, enough of that. How have you guys been enjoying the show lately? It's been pretty funny to watch. Meh. I'd like to think that the replacement is as unimpressive as the person that was replaced, if not more unimpressive. So it's really not surprising that things are shaking out how they are. Um, with that being said, it's pretty obvious that the other side is in panic mode, right? And we'll see that in numerous ways when we start reading through stories and going through. So I mean, the market itself has clearly declared who the winner is. Um, it's interesting because not only has the actual market declared it, but you see people laying down bets on these side markets like a Kalshi or Poly, whatever. I can't remember the name of these places, but you guys know what I'm talking about. All those places where you can make those bets on politicians and stuff like that. Um, yeah, they've already laid down. I think it's like $3 billion on Trump being the winner. So it's gonna be interesting to see just what they do, the representative commies, to Sorry, guys. Try to not get give away what they don't want, right? Because that's ultimately what it boils down to. Um, yeah. So I don't know, because at the end of the day, everybody's decided on not wanting those people involved in any facet of anything. So it's gonna be interesting. No way to tell. Yeah, I heard there was a Beyonce concert last night, and as we're reading here, Kamala was booed. Oh, it was in Beyonce's hometown as well, apparently. Oh, let's read through this. This is gonna be funny. The Kamala Harris rally in Houston last night was billed as a Beyonce concert. Everyone, including the media, believed the singer would perform after the announcement was made earlier in the week. But all she did was walk out, make a barely audible speech for a few minutes. Then the ride descended into complete chaos. Oh, shit. So they gave these motherfuckers a Megan Thee Stallion concert, but did not give them a Beyonce concert. The fucking goal. Oh my god! I'm glad I went here first. This is the best way to start it off. What the fuck is going on here? Woo! Woo. That was funny. All right. Uh, Apparently, this video was the extent of her appearance. Let's see. Wow, 5 minutes. Interesting. I don't want to hear whatever she has to say, so you guys can look that up yourselves. But apparently, you can't hear a word she's saying. What's so difficult about taking a direct feed from the microphones? It seems some outlets got the feed, but others didn't. What a mess. But many people tried to get tickets because they thought it was a Beyonce concert. Oh my God. I didn't know. I mean, that's just the one event. I mean, imagine that. You don't even got to overcharge that shit. Really, right? When you think about it. Oh my God. $10 tickets is $10 million. $100 tickets is $100 million. Boom. One plus one. Shit is crazy. Imagine having that kind of sway. And then not really having it, right? Because you thought people were just gonna be okay with you not doing what you're supposed to, what you're expected to do, which is perform, right? But you didn't. So 30,000 people showed up waiting in line and were disappointed. So when it wasn't, people were pissed. People were people were heckling Kamala like crazy all night. The Secret Service was stressed out. Oh, they were promised a Beyonce concert. They got 2 minutes to hear her speak. Imagine their disappointment. That's crazy. Because they sure as hell gave a full on, full out Megan Thee Stallion concert at the top of this thing. If you guys remember back in the day, must have been, I don't know, must have been probably August, maybe July. It was like when they first started campaigning. It was funny. Treasury buybacks, update on the bond market bloodletting. Well, as you guys know, rates are back up. We'll talk about that later. Where's Tony? These are all the countries visited. These are all the countries visited the U.S. Secretary of State since 2021. That's horribly written, so we're just gonna keep on going. Trump, former White House staffers reject John Kelly's fascist claims. Yeah, they're trying to call. They tried to call. All right, so while I was out, they tried to call Trump not Hitler. Epically failed because everybody understands what's going on there now. And then after that, I guess since they saw that that was failing, they brought out another rando that waited 3 decades to say that she was physically or sexually assaulted, whatever. So yeah, I mean it's just more the same, more the same. Um, yeah. All right, let's see. Long ass questions here. Let's see. Could you outline a potential RH ecosystem play for someone with under 5,000 USD on a sideline to deploy? Yeah, no. If you got to cash it out 2025, then you're just taking a 1 year, not even 1 year. It's already October 2024. So if you're fully staked on both chains for a year, how good do you think that is? I mean, I don't, there's no logic behind your question. Keep pissing it away in shit coins, I guess. I don't know. Because the premise since the start is to not have to worry about what the fuck is happening in a year. Because you can't forecast what's going to happen in a year. Everybody thought Bitcoin was going to be at 100,000 for fucking sure right now. How the fuck is that looking? Not too smart. So, like I've been telling you guys from the start, lock it up and fucking forget about it. That way, you don't got to worry about it. And all of a sudden, you're just fucking rich. Because that's how it happened to Bitcoin. If you want to sit there and watch the paint dry, well, that's as exciting as it's going to get for you then. So, that's the actual answer to that question. If you're trying to be tactical, then you need to learn how to be tactical. There is no answer to that question because at that point, you're assessing sentiment and moving against it, understanding the technical move behind it. And that means you're looking at the chart and understanding what the crowd is thinking. So if you can do that, then you don't need to ask me what anything, right? So if you can't do that, then you probably should be doing what I just told you, which is locking that shit up and acting like you don't got it. Because the problem is, all it takes is one time for you to think you found the big lick, and then that shit is gone. Now, if you can be disciplined and do $100 a time, then whatever. But again, everybody wants these magical trick flips that just you either hit them or you don't. And I mean, I guess you don't know because if you did, you wouldn't be asking, right? But that's the thing that's difficult to understand because you see all these headlines and you don't understand how those headlines materialize. So your best bet, honestly, is in order to figure out how people find these one-off instances where there's these crazy payouts, you got to understand how these things materialize. And that's typically exactly like what happened with Hex when 2021 came around. It was enough people at the beginning to have it go up to a certain price. And then another wave of people came in behind them. And then another wave of people came in. And then another wave. Right? So that's exactly why and how Hex went all the way up from 0 to 50 cent. And that's exactly how every other coin goes from 0 to 50 cent or whatever price. Because it's all equivalently the same. Because you're really just looking at the multiples, right? When you're talking about going from 1x to 10x, 10x to 100x, 100x to 1,000, it's all the same. So whether it's Hex or whether it's any other coin, you have to understand how that's happening if you want to find that and participate in that. Now, the thing you have to understand is that if you fucking with fake crypto, you don't really know what you're putting your money in. So you gotta be very disciplined in the sense that you can't be putting big chunk of money in any of these side coins or whatever. Because You don't know if you're going to get your money back. So, if you have $5,000 and you had a year to play with it, what I would do is I would look for stocks that are going to go up and buy leaps on them. That's what I would do, because that's a guarantee. Because if you look at any stock chart for any stock that's been around for 50, 60, 100 years, and you look at any 20-year period time frame, and then you break it down, what's one thing that happens? Over all those periods of time, stock always goes up. The only time the stock goes down is when the dollar is going up in value. And if you're paying attention to what's going on right now, that shit is not happening anywhere. So, in all honesty, you really have dealer's choice, or let me rephrase, bettor's choice. The question is, how long are you interested in waiting? Right? I got you. I see your point. So if you're already staked and you're looking to play for something on the side, my advice to you is to learn how to read sentiment, because that's how you're going to be able to sniff out. And this is me being honest, because it's really hard to pinpoint a crypto that's going to take off unless you know how to do it. And it's easy to just sit there and find a million different communities that are doing all the same thing. But that's not really the question. The question is, which coin is about to take off, right? And that's why we're talking about how people are thinking about a thing. Because just like people didn't think Hex could go to 50 cent, a cent, yada yada, that's the type of thing you need to look for. And in all honesty, it doesn't matter what market it is, it's the same thing, because people are going to be people. So you just really need to look for the same type of setup, in all honesty, especially if you're just looking for a whole year, right? Like, that's a long period of time for quick money. So if you are able to play it smart and give yourself some type of time horizon, um, understanding that you're taking money off the table once it's there, right? Like, say you give yourself 3 months on a play, but your goal is 10x, but all of a sudden it jumps up 50x. You should probably take off at least 25x and leave, something else on it, and maybe leave a runner, right? Or take off as much as you want, 40x, etc. But just leave something there on the side in case it keeps going, right? Think about something like that. Because the one thing that's true is that there's a lot of money to be made in crypto, but it's important to understand how that system is set up, because the longer it sits idle like it's been, the harder it becomes for new money to enter, because there's going to be more walls put up around it. And those walls are KYC, essentially. Those KYC requirements, because people are not going to want to deal with that just to buy $10 worth of crypto or whatever the number is. You know what I'm saying? So that's the kind of thing you guys got to think about, because everything is in Hex, and it's very few coins that are going to motivate people to jump through hoops. And for the average person dealing with crypto is jumping through hoops, because they don't even know what crypto is still. People just hear Bitcoin and ETH, like, and that's really not even crypto. So it's still we're still in a we're still in very, very early days. It's crazy to say it, but man, 2024 still early days, because people don't understand the problem yet. And that's with all this inflation going on. And the stock market, as you guys have seen, that thing keeps floating. I mean, look at this. This is from August, right? I mean, we've been talking about this damn market this whole time, and it's just whoop, straight up to the right. So all of this plays a part as far as what type of momentum capital is going to have in one direction versus another, right? Because think about it. As far as crypto goes, right? You you apparently have all this institutional interest in the market. You would think that things would move a little differently. But the reality is that they're not. I mean, look at what ETH is doing. I mean, how is it that ETH there's all this interest in ETH, right? From Wall Street, according to the media, right? This is according to media. And the idea, the picture I'm trying to paint here is why you need to learn how to look at markets from a sentiment perspective. All right. Why do we care what people are willing to do versus what they're actually doing? Right? That is extremely important because that is what tells us where the money is going. And that's what we missed with Hex on the first run up. I wasn't looking at that because personally, me, if people were following me blindly, well, they missed it along with me because I wasn't taking sentiment into account at all with something that was so systematic. I really did not consider that people were dumb enough to not stake it and leave it alone because that's the form of communism that everybody claims that they want, but nobody actually does what's in their best interest. That's the funny part. Think about that, right? Because if everybody just staked the Hex and locked it up back then, right? We're talking about 2020, 2021, when T shares were worth less than 25,000 Hex per T share. I mean, imagine all the T shares that would be locked up. Imagine how higher the T share rate would be now versus because people would be doing short stakes and there's still longer term stakes coming out, and all that activity would drive up the T share rate faster. And then on top of that, you would have a whole lot less Hex floating around. Because what's actually happened is that all these people that were exposed to Hex, up here, they just been pissing their money away, trying to trade in and out, trade around, thinking they have a clue, blah, blah, blah. But they don't. And that's kind of the sad thing about it. It's like you don't have people really entering the market, but you have a whole bunch of morons fucking it up for everybody else. Because it's only one type of person that incessantly does this. I mean, damn, man. You can't sit here and tell me that this is everybody that comes to all the Hex streams, right? This is apparently everybody in the community according to I don't know, the crypto mainstream media, whatever, right? Like, think about that. Like, this thing went all the way from 50 cents to 300, 3,000 of a cent or whatever, or thousands of a cent or whatever. Like, we went all the way down to 3 zeros and an 8. That's crazy. When all you had to do was stake that shit and go fucking do something else. Nobody would have lost money. You wouldn't have lost money. You would still be having more Hex in your bank account or your Hex account. All these things would be true, right? All these positive things. But that's not what people decided to do. They decided to do something completely opposite of what was true. And it was in the data, right? And that's the key. The key was that I wasn't looking at all the data that was relevant to Hex and what drove that mechanism, which was higher prices. So once you figure out exactly that, what it is that drives higher prices, what's the promise behind this idea, right? And the promise behind the idea for Hex, the thing behind that is it's really population dependent. So unless we get a new wave of people that are not retarded, which I mean, it's eventually gonna happen because Hex is too good to just hide for that long, and it's only been 3 years, right? And now we have Pulse Chain on top of that. So there's a lot of positive factors that really are on the side for Hex and Pulse Chain and whatnot. But it's understanding the bigger picture and what's actually out there, like all the smoke and mirrors that exist outside of the ecosystem, right? How do you contend with that? It's difficult. The only way to contend with that is time, and that's why you got staking, the farms, and whatnot. But for 5,000, if you're throwing 5,000 in the farm, that's 5,000 at 1.6. Let's say 60%. You do dollar pulse chain. You're making 3,000 on that, right? Because that's the difference between the 5,000 and the 8,000. So it's not the best, but your money, your dollar value is going to be there, right? So it's looking at things like that. No, a lot of people aren't even doing that. They don't even talk about the farms, not from what I can tell. And that's been easy money this entire time. So, I don't know, man, because if you look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's looks nothing like ETH, but apparently it's ETH and Bitcoin. But that's not what the charts show. Right. So I don't know exactly. Actually, I wanted to talk to you guys about this for a while. So I know we've talked about this before, maybe not explicitly, but definitely have. And in layman's terms, it's the tokenization of everything. We've talked about this before. We know it's coming. This is the site where it started. And this site has been up for a long time, at least a year or two, at least since I found it. And one thing I do know for sure is that a lot of people haven't covered it. Most of the crypto doesn't even know it exists. And this is what the real world, and I'm saying that in quotes, is going to consider crypto to be. So it's not even the bullshit that you see on CoinMarketCap and wherever you peruse for coins. Um, you see, a trusted source for. You don't see none of the sources that you use outside of this KYC portal on here, do you? I mean, I want you guys to pay attention because people act like they have a clue, but they don't. And they don't know what any of these entities are. Outside of that, they've read some shit from a motherfucking line, and that's not even what I mean. That's not even what I mean. So, as you guys know, I do not speak in code, but I do speak in code. So, these entities might produce published material, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about where they make their money from. Because that published material, you ain't paying for it, are you? No, you're not. So that's clearly not how they make money. And that's my point. So let's see. What is this dashboard showing us? Market overview. Market overview showing us the total real world assets on chain. 13.23 billion. 64,000 total asset holders. 112 total asset insurers. I don't even understand how that works yet. I haven't really looked at it because whatever. I know this isn't actual crypto. Uh, Total stablecoin value. Once again, that daggone stablecoin. Mm. Total stablecoin holders. 128.64 million. Um, yeah, so I know I went a million different directions trying to answer your question there, Flat Out Rich. I don't have a direct answer. I have a direct strategy, and that's honestly paying attention to what people are thinking about something and doing the opposite of that. You have to make sure that the sentiment is generally consistent across the community that you're prospecting for this idea. Like when everybody was saying that Hex was never going up, and just like when everybody was saying that Hex was never going down, same thing. So that's really the guaranteed way you're gonna make your money, and that's a promise. Just start practicing. You don't even got to put money up because it's really just it's really always a thought experiment, right? So that's honestly how you want to go about doing it, and it doesn't even depend the matter of the market. It's gonna be true. I mean, if we're talking about freaking lawn chairs, it's just gonna be true. It doesn't matter. So that's my honest bit of advice to you. All right. So according to this table, new issuance volume. This is going back to November 2023, so a whole year. Green is stable coins. This pink here is treasuries. US treasuries. I mean, look at that. US Treasury debt. They're issuing US Treasury debt. I mean, goddamn. On their little side chain. I don't know what the fuck to call this shit yet. And look at the private credit. This even bigger. It's an even bigger market. Ha 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 ha. It's your boy been slacking. Damn. Since 2021. Mm, 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 mm. And let's see when this pop off. September 22. Okay. And interestingly enough, it's right around Q3. The start of Q3. Q3 is October, November, December. So you got October. Oh, right at the end. Okay. My mouse tricked me into thinking that was early October. Okay. Nice. Alrighty. Interesting. I got to do some digging here and see exactly what this is. We'll figure it out. All right. Anyway, so there's a whole lot going on in what's considered crypto, not crypto, fake crypto, all that. This is what the legacy markets are bringing to the table as far as what they want to see. You got institutional players, non-U.S. government debt, meaning international, foreign to the U.S. Commodities, and again, man, 2.4 billion in U.S. Treasury debt already on chain. You got stocks here. Let's get rid of everything else. And let's see how much we have in stocks. Not much at all. Interesting. 7.5 million. So I guess people aren't really issuing shares on chain. US non-US government debt, 80 million. That's what we got there. 82 million. Institutional funds, yeah, it's gonna be whatever's on that side there. So all right, let's see. RWA League table networks. So I guess these networks are represented on this chain. Notice which one is not on there, but they know exists because they got all the other ones. And what's interesting is that Bitcoin isn't even on here. So I don't know what's up with that because again, I don't study this like that. I just know what it represents. Um, these are issuers of coins on the network. Paxos, I'm pretty sure does stable coins. So does Tether. Obviously, you guys know that. I'm guessing this is another stable coin issuer. I don't know what BlackRock is doing exactly here. They're probably doing all the private credit and shit. Franklin Templeton is probably doing private credit. Um, I'm guessing most of these others are private credit or stable coins. But I'm not really sure. I'm just taking a wild guess there. Protocols, securitize. I guess this is how they're doing a lot of private credit. Because that's pretty much how that makes sense. So what's private credit? Private credit is like a bond that's not for a government entity. It's like for a business or whatever. So there's nothing standard about it, right? So everything about it is private, unique to that transaction, and therefore it's not really privy to public information. It's not public. It's not a lot of things that you would think of when you think of like a bond and whatnot. So all right, there you go. There's a lot going on here. Asset classes, U.S. Treasury debt, commodities is what we already saw in the little table above. Public equity stocks, 6.5 million, so it wasn't 7.5. Corporate bonds, 11.5. Is this right? It's reading right, but I thought the value for corporate bonds was higher. Huh? That doesn't really make sense. Corporate bonds is like private credit, so I'm not really understanding what what happened there. But I think we can go into the asset classes and get some more granularity, and we will. Um, so it's interesting because we have 2 weeks right left until things start happening. That's what I think. Uh, Luckily, nothing has happened. Oh, okay. Let's see. Um, when you consider what's actually happening in the world right now. And as you guys know, World War III is already pretty much they're trying to light that fire every damn day. And they've been unsuccessful so far somehow with igniting it. Yesterday, Israel attacked Tehran. Apparently, um, you know, claiming it was a retaliatory attack. It's kind of funny because anybody with two brain cells know that's not the case. But everybody isn't really paying attention to the scenario situation like that. They're just going off of whatever they're being told. So Tether is always top, USDC second top, and everybody else comes in behind. US Treasury market and the issuers. You got all these entities issuing treasuries apparently. I don't really get that. But yeah, that's the 2.4 billion. So I guess that's another way to get paid. All right. Um, BlackRock has issued 530 billion or million, excuse me. These guys 444 million. Franklin Templeton 400 million. Hash note. No idea who they even are. I guess they're just another financial player. Asset super state. That's not a really inspiring name. Open Eden. They're tried at least. And all these other little players in there. Oh, Wisdom Tree. How about that? Let's see what's Wisdom Tree doing in there. We can even like I'm not gonna be able to get them to pull up again. No. Oh, there we go. A million. They just tried it out, I guess. They're big players in the actual treasury market through their ETFs and whatnot. So interesting to see them dilly dallying in there. Global bonds, open trade, spike go, back end. I'm not really sure exactly how this works, but it's interesting to see these random names in there. So let's see. Top global bond products, FICO, European Union T-bills, money market fund. So these are European related, but dollar denominated, or these are just T-bills for EU. Looks like that's what that's going on there, because these all got European Union somewhere or another in there, which is interesting, right? Because they're all anti crypto stuff over there. So it's interesting that these people have all these European products, or at least euro denominated products. Crazy. All right, so here we go. Private credit. Earn real yields by investing in private credit loans to businesses, as we talked about. A 1.6 trillion market in traditional finance. Credit protocols facilitate originations, deal funding, and borrow repayments. So I'm guessing these guys are the facilitators, market makers, the people that essentially bring businesses to the market and make transactions, and they would get a slice of that, a cut of that. Um, I could probably do that, but meh, figure. Figure's the biggest player. Go ahead with your bad self. All right, well, we'll take a look at these pages in a future post. I don't want to get too in the weeds here, or future stream. But we'll focus on each individual page. But this is what's growing underneath uh, the real crypto void, right? Because as you guys know, they've waited a long time to bring things to a certain point, whereby things like Hex, Bitcoin in its original form, Ethereum in its original form, um, Pulse Chain, all the things that are actually crypto, they're demolished. They're despised. They're given a negative connotation. Every possible step of the way. Um, Institutional alternative funds explore the world of tokenized institutional alternatives, which encompasses hedge funds, venture capital, private equity, private credit, and other alternative investments. So, alternative investments is just a word for not stock, not a bond, something else. Oh man, yeah, funny guys, funny guys. So this says, okay, I don't know why these numbers are differing in different places, but they need to check that out. And that's the end of that. But this is what's going on. Again, like this is my point. This is what's actually what the people in the real world with trillions of dollars. This is what they're considering crypto is. This is being pitched to them. It's not even Bitcoin in most instances. Is this? So you're not even hearing about this in many cases. And if you are, you're probably not getting a real live perspective as far as what are the implications, what are the meanings, all those beautiful things that matter. Because at the end of the day, everybody still leans on these stable coins. That's what makes this fake crypto market go round, is the fact that people can extract what feels like dollars to them out of that market. This is why meme coins are popular, right? Because no real time, effort, and intelligence is required to extract value if you are lucky enough to pick some up. So those are the types of things that are very critical to understand about the crypto market and where it stands right now. You know, we don't Everybody expected things to hash out a different way than they have hashed out in reality. So in line with that, you got to understand what that means. And it means one or two things. Either there's not going to be a bull run or the bull run is going to be late in crypto, right? And of course, I'm talking about fake crypto because in a market like Hex and Pulse Chain, that shit can happen at any time because those markets are reliant on actual money coming in. They're not reliant on a narrative and all of that other funky stuff that these other markets are reliant on. Because if everything is driven by cycles, right? What's to say that there's ever going to be another cycle for crypto? And it's not just going to be a decade. For a long time, right? There was no real bull cycle in crypto. It was like a whole 3 years. People thought that shit was dead. And then from 2020 to 2022, 2023, I mean, that's all people were talked about. Waiting for that next crypto bull cycle, even while it was happening. And here we are, 2024, going into 2025, and people are still waiting. Not as many as before, that's for sure. But there's still people waiting for their crypto bull cycle. And the main thing I've been trying to enlighten people about is the fact that you might be making, 50x, 100x, 500x here and there, but you got to realize that there's not any money coming into the actual market. That's important to understand because you want to keep those gains, you got to understand that, right? So don't get caught slipping. Damn, too many fucking stable coins. This shit is crazy. I mean, this is insane. I mean, I guess you just look into becoming a stablecoin issuer and just print. I don't know, but this is something to consider. Because this shit is insane. This don't even make any sense. For what? What do we need all these stablecoins for? I don't understand. Because it's not going to help the problem. How does more of the thing that's the problem going to fix it? It's not. Right? And that's the thing that people do not understand. Everybody wants to tie crypto to a dollar, and you can't. You shouldn't want to, because at the end of the day, all of that is the problem. It's not the solution. So that's important to understand, because at a certain point, there could be a massive fake crypto wide rug pull because it just looks good for now. Right? What when it stops looking good? I don't know. But things to think about, right? I mean, look at this. Bermuda Digital Asset Issuance Authority, Bermuda Monetary Authority. You think these people, look at this, New York State, US virtual, it's fucking illegal for people to have crypto here. But yet, these motherfuckers is out here issuing licenses to fuckers like Binance. So if you're not understanding what's going on yet and you fucking around with all these other fuck boy fuck toys fucking pumping their little funny money. Look at this. US Money Services Business. FinCEN. BVI. Not even US. This is the US Treasury entity. Department of Commerce. United States of America. What the fuck is going on here? And this is when you start to realize that the problem is much bigger than you can fucking imagine. And your whole little ideals of wanting to tie the dollar system and crypto together are fucking lost. It's never going to work. It's never going to happen. because the system you're trying to tie to freedom is not about freedom. So how in the fuck can he be included? And people have a hard time realizing that. And that's why they're going to get left behind, honestly. Because that's just what it is. Pretty simple. So, yeah. That's just the truth. Then again, we'll come back to this thing here. Um, let's see. McDonald's stock hammered. Apparently, people haven't figured out McDonald's is fake food yet. So, yeah, there's that. Just those outvote payment allegations against Elon Musk. People should learn how to read. Iran says 4 soldiers were killed in Israeli attack involving 100 warplanes. That doesn't add up, but hey, I wasn't there. Fraud found among 2,500 voter registration forms submitted en masse in PA County. Let's see which county that was. Lancaster County. I used to live close to there. Used to live in Lackawanna. All right, whole lot going on there. EU and China continue to take on EV tariffs alternative. Good luck to them. Have you ever seen a time when 4 major global wars are all percolating simultaneously? Now, what's interesting is as we all know, only one entity is stoking all of these fires at the same time. So, no matter where these things are happening, if they're talking about North Korea, get out of here. All right, you know what? Let's debunk some of this nonsense. Xi Jinping, China, and Taiwan. So this would involve the U.S. That's always percolating. So that's neither here nor there. Meanwhile, Western leaders continue to publicly discuss sending NATO troops to Ukraine. Yeah, for what, 2, 3 years now, nothing happens. So they're never going to do it because they know if they do that, they just cross the line that they cannot return from. And that's why it hasn't happened. And they just talk about it. One of the reasons why this came up again is because there are reports that soldiers from North Korea are being equipped and sent to fight for Russia on the front lines of eastern Ukraine. They don't even believe that shit, but all right. North Korea has been making all sorts of noise lately. Yeah. But right now, the U.S. military is focused on the Middle East because that conflict is spiraled completely out of control at any moment. On Sunday night, IDF spokesman Daniel Hagari warned that Israel would soon begin targeting any financial institutions that aid Hezbollah. I don't know exactly what that means, but it doesn't sound like it sounds to me. It doesn't sound good at all. In the past 24 hours, dozens of projectiles have been fired at northern Israel. He began. In the next minutes, we will issue an advanced evacuation warning to residents of Beirut and other areas of Lebanon to evacuate locations being used to finance Hezbollah's terrorist activities. I emphasize here, anyone located near sites used to fund Hezbollah's terror activities must move away from these locations immediately. Imagine you're at work, it's Friday afternoon, maybe it's lunchtime, just minding your own motherfucking business. All of a sudden, some random fuck from some random country says, "Hey, you, I'm fucking your shit up. Go elsewhere now." Hold on. Back to what I was saying. You have a situation where one, you know, a whole country's just living in peace one day, and this other country just starts fucking with them just because they can. That's exactly what's going on. Anytime Israel fucks with anybody else. Literally. Anytime the US fucks with anybody else. Literally. That's what the fuck is going on. There's no freedom. There's no democracy. There's none of that shit. Fuck out of here. Let's see, what other bullshit. Most people in the Western world have absolutely no idea how chaotic things have become over there. Yeah, they surely do not because they're not being reported. Assuming this shit is even real and it's not just shit to get people fucking wound up over here in the first place. It is being reported that there is a widespread panic in Beirut at this moment. Janine Hennis, the UN Special Coordinator for Lebanon, said that after the IDF issued its evacuations, uh, said there was widespread panic in Beirut. A brief window to escape to safety. Intense blasts reverberate across the night sky. With each day, Lebanon suffers more. But even amid de escalating violence, solutions remain available if only opportunities would be seized, she said. Could the U.S. soon find itself involved in 4 major global wars? And that brings me back to my original statement. It's all the Jews, because that's exactly why this line becomes relevant. Otherwise, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't even pop up in there. Let's see what else is going on. Kuwait bans new Call of Duty game featuring Saddam Hussein. EU president likens free speech to infectious disease. That's what's going on in Europe, by the way. The U.S. was inadvertently responsible for the Sino-Indo border de-escalation deal. If you don't know what that's about, China and India are always beefing because of their border. Google Maps. Let's go. Google Maps. Come on. All right. There's China. There's India. There is the Indo-China border, aka Sino-Indo. Not sure. I don't remember, so I can't really speak as to the Sino-Indo part anymore. Been too long since I learned all this shit, people. So you can't really blame me. I gotta refresh my memory. Anyways, they're always beefing over this plot of land. Always, as far back as I can remember, anyway. So that's what this is all about. Trump is crushing it as far as a popularity is concerned. That's that. All right, we're hitting on an hour, folks. We're gonna wrap up on the stories here shortly and take a look at the charts. I mean, as you guys know, all the all the macro is really just same as before. You know, we got rates cruising higher, we got gold cruising higher, we got stocks cruising higher. Every time stocks look like they're gonna fall over, they get picked back up. Um, you had a small bank failure happen recently, last week, Friday. It was real small, not even half a billion. It was really small. So you probably didn't even hear about it. And my guesstimate is that these state regulators are just holding on until the last possible moment before they start pulling the rug on these banks, because there's tons of banks that are not healthy, that are not properly ran, and that these regulators know they should not be operational. So it's just a matter of, this is besides all of the outstanding negative balances that are unrealized, losses. So I'm not even talking about that. I'm just speaking generally. I'm just generally speaking. So you throw that on top in there in the mix, you got a hell of a batch of problems just there baking. So all of this stuff is just brewing. You got still have this immigrant problem being exposed or being spread out throughout the rural Americas. You still have big facets of jobs being cut. You still have big facets of opportunity also being presented. If you're not learning about artificial intelligence and what it is, you should, because you don't know what you're capable of doing once you start messing with that. So do yourself the favor and get involved, because at the end of the day, you know, technology just isn't going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. And please understand that there is no belief required for math. So, yeah. The reason Bitcoin is only at 67,000 is because everybody in that market stupidly believed that allowing corporate interest to enter was the smart thing. So they're never going to see 100K. Not when they think they're going to see it anyway. Um, Two lawmakers attempt the impossible, saving Social Security. I think that's funny. Here we go. That was yesterday when I think everything started. Um, folks, we got a couple weeks until all hell could potentially break loose, because the idea is that people do not regain any prosperity. You think about what's happened since Clinton. Think about what's happened since Bush won. You used to be able to work in a factory and be able to have a good living. A factory worker could pay rent, survive, make great money. My father used to be a fucking sewing machine worker or some shit like that. And because this motherfucker was fast, he would get X amount of product done. He'd get paid for X amount of product. I remember that shit like it was yesterday. I think about it often, because that was motivating to me as a little kid, seeing that you can make money just by busting your ass hustling. But that dream disappeared before I was even 10. So think about, how does something like that return? How? You got to really think about that. How does something like that come back to the table in a form whereby you can benefit from it? I mean, that's a difficult one. That's a difficult question. Very difficult question. And that's kind of the question, isn't it? You kind of want everything to just be properly laid out in a way that, you just you can't lose. But it's hard to find that um in such a way that you can use it. That's why digging and digging and digging is key. You just don't know what you're gonna find, what that information is gonna be, how you're gonna be able to use it, how you're gonna be able to, you know, invent something that you didn't think you could, or that you didn't think was valid. You know, we all have something, and if we're not all seeking it, we're never gonna find it. So, important thing to understand. So check this out, guys. We have positive momentum in the market, but the market is still struggling at this moving average turning point. And what is that moving average turning point? Let's turn the moving averages on. It's this place here of which the market just felt like a rock. Whenever the market comes in places where there are inflection points, moving averages, as you can see here, your market reacts. And it eventually reacted a few 100 points lower, but it reacted. Right. And now we're coming up here again, and the market is reacting again. So it's just a matter of what I personally think the market is going to continue higher because we're above these moving averages here. And this is the 55, or not the 55. This is the 34 and the 55. And then this is the 89, or excuse me, the 144 and the 233 moving average. So you have price just staying above all these moving averages consistently over time. No matter what the downforce is, they float. Now, if the price just sticks here, hold on. If price just is not able to get above this area, I mean, look, every time it comes up, it just rolls back. And that's definitely going to add weakness into the picture. All right, as you guys can see, momentum is subsiding, and with that, you got volume not really picking itself up here. So, excuse me. Be interesting to see what continues to happen this week with this level, because there's so much going on. It's almost impossible to imagine that this market is up with all the risks that's out there. And interestingly enough, the VIX is kind of showing that it is in an elevated stance, i.e., a high volatility environment, right? And we talked about this a long time ago, how low volatility is really anything below 13 and a half, right? And here we go. We've been up here for months, since August, really. We've been up here. Um, yeah, and yeah, it's crazy because uh, yeah, this is important because the market really moves based on this. And that's kind of what my levels highlight, right? Because if you guys take a look at, let me get rid of all this stuff here. Guys, just take a look at what price does when it reaches these turning points. It's pretty critical. I mean, the price runs through it, stops, turns, reverses, retest, whatever you want to call it. But these levels are a function of volatility, and that is because there's a specific way that you can calculate certain levels of projection based on a closing price, based on a few things. I'm not going to give away my secret sauce. The point is, it's real. And the proof is in the pudding, and it happens every day, 100% precision. Right. And if you can ascertain what the market is doing or not doing from the impending price action, you can extract a lot of alpha from the market because then you know what to do and what not to do. Right. And that's what's important because the market is going to go up every day, but every day is not a day where you think that you can just hold on to a trade like you could on this day. Right. Or the reversal of it because it literally happened in the same day. And that's rare. It doesn't happen often where you have a two-way trade that's big in one day. That happens maybe 30% of the time, or I'm lying, maybe 15% of the time or less. About 50% of the time, the market just goes sideways like this. It just doesn't do anything. So, And note, we're in a high volatility environment. So we're looking at data, right, in a high volatility environment. So even though we're in a high volatility environment, market is still respecting these levels every single day because it treats volatility as the input. Volatility is what drives everything. And just like we would look at those values that I would have on my chart, where you have the put wall and the call wall and all that stuff, it's similar to that, except for that these are daily levels. They're not representative they're not a function of expiration. I mean, they are, but they're a function of daily expiration. So that's kind of how I'm able to figure out where are the potential turning points every day, because they're potential. The market doesn't have to do anything. Market do nothing, right? This day the market ran up, something nice, but then it ran back, right? So it ran up uh 300 points, 400 points, and it came right back 250 points. So sometimes the market just does that. But understanding high volatility markets helps you gauge that, because that is typically when it happens. When the markets are low volatility, like in June, yeah, they're pretty much one-way markets. You know, you don't really see a lot of crazy activity. Let's see if we can pull up a day in July or something. Let's see. See what it give us. It's July 10th. All right. So here's a series of days where the market is just going up. Let's see what we are getting. So we got the market opening up, which is interesting, in a high area, and then selling off for the entire day. So I remember that was happening a lot during that time. But what I want to focus on is just the range for the day. And as you guys can see, it's just two levels, two levels, two levels. But here it got away, and we got three levels here. Ultimately four. But here the next following day also got three levels again, and so on and so forth, right? So you got this low volatility period of time, and the market is just hop skipping and jumping along higher, not a care in the world. And then boom, finally rocks out at 21,000, where it stops going higher. And ever since, it's been battling, trying to get back up. See, we're at 20,470, 20,500. And everything is battling with this 21,000 level. That's where that turning point in the NASDAQ comes into play, 20,500, because this was the high, 20,983. So this is just the difference in the contract, just because of the value in the contract movement. You know, this was back in July, right? So this contract traded at 21,116, when this one traded 20,983. That's all. That's why those values are different. It's just two different points in time, two different contracts showing you two different values at the same point in time. That's what I meant to say. But at any rate, the idea is that you notice how volatility treats price, right? It contains it, it corrals it, it shows you where it's gonna go. And that's pretty much the theory behind the levels. Yeah, and it works. You know, as you guys can see, it works. And it doesn't matter the market. As long as you can get a volatility input, that thing gonna work. So pretty gangster. The dollar ripping everybody's face off. But what's interesting about this move is that bonds are getting sold off. Some crazy. And we went all the way down to 118 from 127, 125. Remember, Last time I streamed, it was like right here. I think it was either one two. Yeah, I think it was 123 or 122, something like that. And I was like in between going short and or not. And I did, and it kept going, and it's still going, and yeah. See if it stops. I mean, it looks like it still got room to run. So, the moving average is still above it. It's overshadowing it. Momentum is still pointing downward. So everything is pretty much in motion as far as that downward, or should I say, upward moving rates goes. And it's as we talked about a few weeks ago. They know what they're doing, right? They pretend to feign ignorance and pretend to be stupid and whatnot, but they understand that they're causing inflation. They want to cause inflation. They're trying to break people's pockets. That's their goal. That's what's going on. Let's look at crude. Crude is just whipping all around because of everything that's going on in the Middle East. I would suspect that Iran being attacked by Israel will definitely cause a bid in prices tomorrow out in the open. Would be surprised if it didn't. Gold. We talked about before, man. This thing just gonna keep going. Silver doing the same thing. So that's that. E-mini just looking like the NASDAQ, honestly. The NASDAQ it turns out to be a more honest, and this is crazy to me because for the longest time, I was a firm and solid believer that the NASDAQ was the market that was manipulated as far as the manipulated market of choice, and it is not. As long as I've been trading that market now, I've come to learn a whole lot, and I was wrong about that. That market is the Nasdaq is not where the manipulation happens. It's too thin of a market for the manipulation to work there. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but you have to understand that when you control the market, the best way to control it is by controlling the market. And if you're controlling 500 stocks, you're controlling a big portion of the market. At today's present moment in time, I think there might be 5,000 stocks. So if you're controlling 10% of the market, that's a pretty good deal. And that's what the S&P 500 represents. And when you look at this market versus this market, let's put this instead. You see that I'm trying to figure out a way to describe it. But if you look at the lows, hold on, guys. We close this window. Because then the stream gets hit with a freaking copyright strike like 8 months later or some dumb shit. All right. If you look at the lows, let me zoom in here. And the focus is just this upper box area, right? You look at where I have my mouse, 5830 is really the midpoint of this area, right? And we're right on it at 5846 with the high of 5927 and the low of 5724. So it's even equidistant. I really didn't even know that shit was gonna work out that way. It just looked that way to me. And it's really that simple. You don't got to make the markets more more difficult than that, guys. It's really that simple. And when we check this out, we got the gap up here, right? So that gap up is essentially what got this party going. So if we start losing this momentum, right? Because after a gap up, that's just 250 points. After a gap up, that's not a lot. So we start losing the 250 and it starts coming down. All of a sudden we're at 200, 175. That's losing momentum and strength of that gap up, right? So if we lose that 59.20 area, 58.20 area again, excuse me, and then that in the S&P E-mini futures, that's going to be pretty critical. Now let's take a closer look at the NASDAQ from a similar perspective. Now looking at it, it seems to be a lot more loftier nowadays, right? But the thing you have to look at is the two-way trade, not just the one-way trade. And that's what I didn't understand until I started trading the NASDAQ. Because the S&P doesn't really trade down like the NASDAQ does. That's the main reason I left the S&P. Because you could only really trade one damn side. Whereas with the NASDAQ, you can eat both ways all day, every day, most days. So, it was an obvious choice. But when you're looking at the overall capital flow of the market, the difference between the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ is that the NASDAQ is where all the money that's invested for growth is going to go, because that's where the tech is. Tech focus is in the NASDAQ. It's only now that the rest of the world is becoming tech oriented, meaning that most businesses are going to ensure that their operations are technically efficient or technologically based or technologically sound, because there's no reason for them not to be in the 21st century if you're trying to make money, right? So anybody that's smart enough to take advantage of that is doing it, and they are making tons of money. But if they're not, then they're just suffering, and they're going to be priced out of the market. They're going to be competed out, because that's how it works, man. That's how it's supposed to work anyway. So the market is still floating higher. I suspect that with the current state of market expectations, any inkling of a commie presidency, market crashes. And the reason I think that is because I feel, and this is just my opinion, I feel like the market's just been waiting to see if it can be saved by a Trump presidency or not. At least that's a perception I get from it. And I think that if that's not the case, it's either going to rely on the Fed to sustain its further pumps, like what we've been seeing. And if not, then it's probably going to be go time, and we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll just be wrong. That's okay too. So, there's a lot going on, guys. Focus on real crypto. Uh, focus on your fam. Focus on what's good. Catch you guys on the next one. As you guys know, now I can stream again, so we'll start getting back to it. Peace.